Have you seen the Facebook posts where people are talking about what's the best lead source, what's the worst lead source, and it's a real crazy post for the most part when you see these people who are like, I lost so much money, or I paid all this money and I got this, or I paid almost no money and I got 20 transactions, and it's a mess. It's crazy. And the reality is, if you were to go to something like realtor.com, right? And you bought 100 leads from them and you gave them to agent A and agent B, the results are likely going to be highly different, very different. Okay. They're going to be very, very different based on that agent's follow up system, based on what they're doing, based on their ability to talk to people and develop rapport. I mean, there are so many different things that go into actually converting a lead. So to say that realtor.com is good or bad based on one agent's experience versus another is really, really difficult. So I want to peel back the curtain on lead generation and really what all of these different sources or services are, so that you can kind of understand and hopefully make a better decision or a great decision when you buy leads. Yeah, that's basically it. Um, so let's start with influencers. Dave Ramsey, ELP, right? So that's going to be a lead source that is very, I guess, dependent on their situation, right? So a lot of people go to Dave Ramsey for financial assistance. So if you're buying leads from somebody who's going to Dave Ramsey for financial assistance and you get them their first month there, well, it's probably going to be a little different than if you get somebody who's been in the program for 2 years and has financially fixed everything. So those are going to be leads where they may be now leads. They may also be long-term leads. It's really going to be dependent on the situation of each individual, which is often the case. But that's why influencers are usually a high cost with a mixed rate of return. So IRL traffic, or in real life traffic, this is stuff like sign calls, networking, open houses, sphere, door knocking, mailers, billboards. So mailers and billboards are more advertising, but I put them here because they're still in the real world. We're not talking about the internet here. Um, Door knocking, open houses, those are things you buy with your time. Your sphere, your networking, your sign calls, those are things that are also paid with time, but also with money, depending on how you're managing it. Okay. So those are some simple traffic sources. Now let's get into more of the lead sources. So if we go to resellers, we're going to see ZBuyer, OpCity, Fast Expert, HomeLight, Bold Leads. And if I get any of these wrong, if they've changed their model in the last 6 months, year, whatnot, forgive me. But this is from what I'm aware of. These are lead resellers. So OpCity is going to go, they're going to buy a bunch of leads from people who generate leads. And I'll show you some stuff on that in a minute. But they're going to take those leads, they're going to run them through their inside sales program, which is prospecting, right? They're going and prospecting all those leads. And then they're going to refer them out to the agents once they're somewhat warm so that they can get a referral fee. Now, ZBuyer is going to sell you just a bunch of leads that they bought. Fast Expert is going to get a very similar experience to ZBuyer. HomeLight, Bold Leads, a lot of these, again, they're buying the leads from third parties, people who are generating the leads from the original sources, which we'll get to, and then they're reselling them to agents. That's what's happening. Small marketing agencies like myself and many of the others that you see out there. Now, these are wild cards and they have so many different services. So I just put them down as wild cards because you may be buying leads from them. You may be buying a managed service, which we'll get to, or you may be buying services, tools, brands, all sorts of stuff. It really depends. Those are wild cards. Services. This is stuff like Phone Animal, Call10, where basically they're taking your leads or they're taking your data or the data that they've acquired on your behalf, and they're calling or prospecting to try and generate deals for you. Those are services. You're paying for the service. So then we get to brands like Realtor.com, Zillow, Redfin, Homes.com, Sold.com, all of that stuff. Now, these are brands. While they're technically not a source, in some ways they are. And what I mean by that is you're not going to go to Google and search for something for sale and then go to Zillow, right? A lot of people are also, you are going to go to Google, search for homes for sale, and then you'll go to Zillow, right? But a lot of people are also going directly to Zillow because the brand has become so recognizable. So they have the app on their phone, they have the the name recognition. So people are going directly there. And so it's not technically a traffic source, but in some ways, because of their name recognition and brand recognition, it's becoming one. Then we go to tools. So Vulcan 7, RedX, Mojo. These are tools. So when somebody says, I get the best leads from Vulcan 7, or I get the best leads from RedX, no, you don't get leads. You get data from these services. They have a dialer. That's a tool. So you're buying time and data because the dialer makes you faster. The data tells you who to call. Now, with something like Vulcan 7, I've always had the best luck with them. They had better data, but the reality is I paid for 2 or 3 expired services at once. Why? Because if I get 2 extra leads from service A than I do from service B, it's going to pay for itself in the first 3 months, 4 months. So I would rather have an excess of data and a couple of extras that I would have missed with just one service than run just one and be happy. But that's just me. So anyways, that's tools. And then we have managed lead generation. Now, this is something that you're seeing all over the place. Things like Real Geeks, Boomtown, KV Core, Market Leader, Ylopo. So as I understand them, again, I know a lot of these businesses have different models. So something like Boomtown, right? You pay them for the CRM, but then it's like $300 a month or $400 a month or something, and they'll generate the leads from you or for you. Now they're managing your ad spend and generating you leads. That's great, but they aren't Boomtown leads. That's not the original source. Boomtown is simply generating those on your behalf. Okay. Same thing with KV Core. For the most part, as I understand it, what they're doing is they're going and generating you leads on other platforms, which we'll get to. And so that would be managed. In Ylopo, they're generating it from another source, and then they're managing it for you. And they're using the pixel and the retargeting and some simple stuff. And then Market Leader, right? Similar thing. These are all companies that are giving you a platform, and then they're doing the marketing on your behalf for an additional cost. So why do I tell you about all of these? And that's mainly because I want to get here. This is what we call sources. Okay. So when something like Real Geeks is going and they're spending money on Google PPC, Google is that lead source. When you're using something like KV Core and they're getting Facebook ads for you, Facebook is the lead source. Zillow, a lot of their leads are still coming from Google because they're generating the traffic, right? The visitor to their site from Google. They're also using stuff like YouTube, like Facebook, Bing, and so on, right? They're getting these traffic sources, visitors to go to their site where they fill out the form. But these sources are right here, your lead sources. Almost all of these sources start here, except for like the in real life stuff, right? Because ZBuyer, if they're buying a lead from somebody who's generating it, they're still generating it from the sources. Okay. So there are so many different companies out there selling leads, but what really matters is what is the source and what is the offer. So for somebody who's going to Google and they're searching homes for sale in West Michigan, if they go to your website and they fill out a form to find out more about homes for sale in West Michigan, like that would be considered a pretty high quality lead, because that is somebody who has searched for, found, and inquired on a house or a service of buying a house or selling a house, right? Now, something like a Facebook ad is going to be a little bit different because those are just popping up. Now, keep in mind, those are popping up in front of people that, if it's done right, should be highly targeted and likely to opt into the offer. So these sources are the real sources behind all of this. What matters is what is the offer that's being offered. Okay. How are they finding you? Is it an organic search, or is it a pattern interrupt on something like YouTube or Facebook, TikTok, and so on? Why are they on the platform they're on when they originally see your ad? There are so many different things that go into this, but I'm trying to break it down as simple as possible for you. Again, then there's the entire part of cultivating the lead and converting the lead, which requires follow-up systems and everything to manage the lead when they get in there. Are they getting the emails? Are they getting the texts? Are they getting the calls? Are you following up quickly, right? What is the response time? There's so much stuff that goes into this. And then let's look at some other information, okay? Because we go to similarweb.com. Now, similarweb.com gives you all kinds of free information and tools. But if we go to Zillow, right, we're going to see that Zillow has a primary audience 25 to 34, right? That's the age group. Now, if we use NAR statistics on the buyers and sellers in 2022, 2023 coming up, then we can find out a little bit more information about, is this going to be the best place to spend, some ad dollars? Then we go to realtor.com. Well, realtor.com has 22% versus the 23, but they also have 18% in the 45 to 54. Now we know that is a hot category for people that are selling. Beyond that, we have Facebook. Facebook has a smaller demographic. About 1/3 of their traffic, or a little bit over, is 35 plus. You go to TikTok, 63% is under 35. But they still have 1/3 of their traffic is above 35. And you go to something like Pinterest. What's interesting here is versus TikTok, you have a 38% female rate. If we go to Pinterest, we have a 53% female rate. So we have a similar number of above 35, which again is just the profile from NAR on more likely to sell. But female versus male, we know female demographics are typically more valuable in this space, we'll say. So you have all this different information on the data and on the different websites. And again, then you have the fact that there are the sources, and where is all of this stuff coming from? And I know I'm probably rambling for some of you, but it's just so frustrating to see all these posts about people talking about this lead source versus that lead source, and they're not sources, right? They're not even services, or maybe they're a tool, maybe they're X, Y, or Z. But the reality is, any one of these systems can work. Now, with some of them, they're going to have a lower conversion rate. That's just the way it is. But usually those are going to be cheaper than the ones with the higher conversion rate. And if you don't want to pay for leads, you don't pay for leads. You don't have to pay for leads. But I wanted to show you kind of what is going on there, right? So let's go back to that resellers piece. When I was talking about the resellers. So if I go to something like OfferVault, this is an affiliate marketing website, right? So I do a lot of affiliate marketing. I've done a lot of sales of leads on the back end, right, to those resellers, or to some of them, we'll say. So you can go in here as a lead buyer or a lead generator like myself, and I can go find different offers that people are willing to buy leads. So if I go to something like We Buy Homes for Cash, well, if I'm able to generate cash buyer leads, and I can do that for less than the payout, this is what they're willing to pay me. If I can do it for less than that payout, I get to keep the difference. And so that's called performance marketing. And that is a large way of how some of the resellers are getting their leads. Now, if you go in here, you're going to see there's different types. Real estate dispute. Let's see. Home improvements, rent to own, timeshare. I've seen companies like HomeLight on here, a few other ones that were on here that are clearly resellers. And yeah, basically just where you're really getting your leads from when you're buying leads is typically one of these sources. Aside from a few of the brands and the influencers, the sources are typically where the leads come from. What matters is, what is the offer that is being offered? And what does the follow-up look like? Because even with a semi-good offer, if you have great follow-up, you can still convert those leads. So with that, I hope this has been helpful. And yeah, have a great day. Feel free to shoot me an email if you have questions.